How did you feel when your mom's boyfriend touched you like that?
I felt sad. I thought it was my fault, but it wasn't.
Whose fault was it?
It was his fault. That's what a counselor at my school said. She helped me when I told her what happened.
Good for you, Sabrina.
Thanks.
Now, whenever Sabrina gets touched in an unsafe way, she'll say no, then go. And what will you do if you're ever touched in an unsafe way?
Say no, then go!
Right.
Now listen up, guys. If you want to share something today or have any questions, you could talk to us privately in a few minutes.
It's not okay to rub boogers on your sister. Would you want boogers rubbed on you?
No.
Ugh, me neither. So, next time she pulls your hair, just tell your mom, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Hi. Come on over. What's your name?
Colin,
Hi, Colin. I'm Jessie.
my friend said rubbing weenies feels good.
Did your friend touch you there?
No, but he said he does it and it's fun.
What's your friend's name?
Jake. That's him.
In New York City, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. These are their stories.
Hey guys, welcome to Munch My Benson. My name is Adam. I've got a sleeping child in the room with me. Joining me on the line is Josh Dugan. How you doing, Josh?
Doing all right. We are recording this 5 minutes after having just recorded another episode, so not much has changed in my life since we last spoke.
I held back some banter from the last ones because I wanted to add something to this. So I've been watching a show. It's on HBO Max. It's called How To with John Wilson. Highly recommend this show.
Really fantastic. It's so good.
Really good.
Did you watch the episode about the scaffolding?
The scaffolding one is fantastic. Have you seen the one about how to cover your furniture?
Oh, yes. Holy shit. That one, it really goes some places you're not expecting it to go.
Well, that's what's fun about it. They all do. They're all kind of like profound and funny and weird at the same time. I'm really enjoying this show. I think it's really unique and interesting. And I'm just amazed at the amount of footage this guy gets. But his ability to catalog it is insane to me. Just insane. That he has these shots that are totally just like him. He just walks around New York with a camera because he's a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
But he's getting all of this shit and is able to catalog it in a way that he can use it later. It just blows my mind because
it's kind of this midpoint between Nathan For You and that weird Joe Pera show.
I haven't seen that.
Joe Pera has a show on Adult Swim.
But Nathan Fielder is one of the, I think, executive producers.
He's an EP. It doesn't feel like it's as out to get people as Nathan For You is.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not as, Nathan is very front and center in Nathan For You, and John Wilson is, very much the part of the narrator.
Well, he's
your eyes.
He's the camera. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, of course, you're seeing the world through his
weird,
very strange lens, but
yeah, it's a strange lens, but it's so fantastic. It's such a good show.
I'm really loving it. Highly recommend.
I think I've seen 4 of them.
Yeah, there's 6. I just watched the one where he goes to Cancun for spring break.
That one's great. That one's really fun.
It's so good.
Or doesn't he go to Florida for spring break?
No, he goes to this one he goes to Cancun. He's going to Cancun to like get away, and it turns out he's like in the middle of spring break when he shows up there.
Right.
I forget how the whole sequence of events that gets him there is pretty outstanding.
Yeah. It's a really fun show.
Well, it looks like the child woke up, so we're going to hold him for a second, and then and then we'll pass him off to his mom.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So I guess without further ado, this might be a really good time for you to do the episode recap because, there might be some muting you have to do on my microphone for a minute.
Yeah, for sure. I've also, as I noted in the last episode, I have not edited this recap at all. I've not read through it.
Oh, excellent.
So this is going to be a fun ride for me. I'm sure I wrote it in a way that can be read aloud very easily, as that is what I always do. We are watching Season 7, Episode 21, the penultimate episode of Season 7. We are watching Web. The curtains draw on a molestation puppet show, where predictably, a child is inspired to tell the puppet masters that little Jake wanted to do some prepubescent mutual junk rubbing with him. Jump cut to Stabler asking Jake who touched him, only to have Connor Paolo and his mother wander in. Yep, Connor Paolo, who we've seen murder and attempt to kid rape a cancer-ridden drug dealer just 3 years prior to this. She cries, "No, not again," and Moms tells Wong and Stabler that Teddy got molested by his dad, Gregory. Greg, the biological, got out and sued for visitation rights with Jake, the kid she was pregnant with when Greg was raping Teddy. Now, with supervised visits, Jake is exhibiting the same post-molestation behaviors as Teddy. Stabler tries to break through a video game wall and connect with Teddy to get the story on Greg, and Wong tries to pry the pertinent information on the diddling from Jake. But Jake just talks Clue, and they're left to go interview the father. Greg protests that he would never touch Jake, that he's cured. And he goes in for his weekly polygraph test, which indicates that he did have time alone with his son, but supports the assertion that he didn't molest Jake. Cue Warner bomb drop. Jake's mitochondrial DNA matches that of his abuser. Teddy's been blowing his 8-year-old brother, and we've got a full-blown shit show. Stabler and Finn head off to Teddy's school to question Teddy, only to find the walls of the school papered with boudoir pics of Teddy from Teddy'sTreehouse.com. Yep, Teddy's getting rich on self-produced kiddie porn, starring himself and once his younger brother, off a site with over 1,000 subscribers. Elliot agrees to let Teddy go home, with Langan imploring him to let him get Teddy to turn over his list of subscribers. Unfortunately, Captain Janeway is waiting in Novak's office when Stabler is telling her his plan to go after the Pedos, and she says the feds are going after Teddy as a kitty smut peddler. Stabler agrees to arrest Teddy instead of the feds, but Stabler's left with his dick in his hands when Teddy flies the coop upon his arrival. Back at the house, TARU Morales shows the unit printouts from the Teddy's Treehouse chat from that day where his subscribers were looking to help him, which infuriates Kragen, who'd previously ordered Morales to shut the site down. Morales says he can make it right, and he and Stabler go to an internet cafe where they catfish one of the pedos who was going to help Teddy escape. They set up the sting, and Morales tells Stabler that his 12-year-old nephew was raped by a 43-year-old man who he met online with the computer he gave the kid, so he's going to take down every pedo he can get his digital digits on. Fun Fella 13 shows up at the restaurant with a pedo goodie bag of rubbers and wine coolers. When interrogated, Fun Fella 13 tells them where Teddy's nest is. They rush off to the nest, but Teddy's not there. Even worse, his last video shows him getting kidnapped, which leads them rushing off to Benson at the CPU crimes unit. She's able to point them to the other subscriber who said he'd help Teddy, but Doc Lucas is clamming up, and Benson comes back to help question the pedo, only to walk in on Morales beating the shit out of Lucas in an interrogation room. Benson and Stabler show the doc the video of Teddy taking a rag full of chloroform, but the doc says it must be a fake, and they cut him loose to get him to unwittingly lead them to the kidnapper, Good Friend 22. Doc Lucas runs off to the nearest internet cafe, leads Benson to the kidnapper's location, and Stabler and Finn rush off to Washington Heights, where they charge in. Stabler gets in a full-on brawl with Good Friend 22, and eventually they find Teddy gagged and tied down to a bed. They bring Teddy to the hospital, where Captain Janeway says she's going to work out a deal with Teddy to get him the help he needs and put away his subscribers/kidnappers. Then, Stabler returns to the squad room to find Benson leaving Kragen's office, who tells her she did the right thing. After establishing that she didn't turn in Morales for beating the shit out of a kidnapping co-conspirator, she tells Elliot that she works there and takes her place across from Stabler, giving us an
"I wish I knew how to quit you"
Dick Wolf.
I said this before in the last one. This is definitely one of the episodes that was in my mind when I'm thinking about kind of the depth and breadth of lives ruined and
the problematic.
Problematic.
Holy shit, does this bring that in spades?
This is like, one that I kind of have remembered long after having first seen it, because from minute one, there is so many things that just are so fucking crazy.
Yes.
That they leave you going, what the fuck is that? In little details. details are just completely bonkers. Like, they go to the apartment complex office, and it's like a huge office. There's like 30 people working in this apartment complex.
Yeah.
It's madness.
Honestly, that didn't even register to me. But I mean, holy shit.
We'll get to that later. We'll get to that later.
All right, so we have to unpack the guest stars. I don't really have that many notes on them.
Yeah.
I looked up most of them, but I only have like 5.
I mean, I think Connor Paolo obviously is the main character, but we already know Connor Paolo. We've seen him a lot in Juvenile.
I have a lot of notes about him that we'll get to after we unfurl all the guest star shit. But yeah, he was Psycho Tween Zachary Connor in Juvenile season 4, episode 9, which we covered back in Munch My Benson episode 5. Who's the perfect victim for a 90-pound twerp perp? Yeah,
he got the mom from Freaks and Geeks' kid sent up the river for life for a crime that he didn't commit.
Well, I think it was second degree, so it's not life, but it's probably 20 to 25 years. And he'll probably die in prison, so it's life. But
he was soft.
Indirectly.
Yeah.
He was very soft. He's also in Gossip Girl, and he left Gossip Girl because he was just recurring to be main cast in Revenge, which he was in for a few seasons. Then we've got Dana Eskelson, who's playing Mrs. Winnock, Teddy's mom. This is her second SVU appearance, showing up in Futility, where she plays one of Fred Savage's victims, Karen Lighton. She was also in Exiled, the Law & Order movie, and was in an episode apiece of the original series and Criminal Intent.
Nice.
Then we've got Tim Hopper playing Gregory Hensel. Yeah. This is his second episode of SVU, having appeared in Taken, which was in season 2. It was episode 8. He was also in 2 episodes of Trial by Jury. He is Tom Van Meter, which is a recurring character on Chicago Fire. He's also had recurring parts in The Americans, The Exorcist TV series, Empire, Utopia, and Oz. Yeah. And what I recognize him from was he was Zach's dad in School of Rock, which I actually just rewatched.
He was also in Last of the Mohicans.
He was. I saw that, but I was like, I'm pretty sure he's very far down the cast list.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember. I haven't seen that movie in decades, but I don't remember him from it. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's been at least 20 years since I've seen that. And then we've got Kate Mulgrew, who should not be this far down the list, but somehow is because she's barely in this fucking episode.
I know, and Kate Mulgrew is a very good actress, I think.
Oh, I agree.
I could go off for like an hour about how Voyager was really underserved by kind of going back and forth between what it could be and what they oftentimes did. They oftentimes just reverted to the kind of old-time Star Trek formula, which I'm suffering through TNG season 1 right now, and it's exactly like that.
That's such garbage.
But when Voyager was kind of branching out, either there's a classic 2-parter called Year of Hell, which is what the whole show should have been, or when they're going into really weird shit, like they're like breaching the timeline in fucking weird, interesting ways in that show, but it's like once or twice a season, and the rest of it is just like dumb guys with, stupid makeup on alien type things.
It's boring.
It's really underserved by the fact that it wasn't serialized. It should have been serialized, and it could have been really good if it were. Deep Space Nine, they could grow these characters, and there's this arc that you think is one thing at the beginning, and it grows into a much bigger thing by the end, and Voyager is like, we have to get home. Kate Mulgrew is fantastic, though.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
She's playing Donna Geisen here. She's the pride of Dubuque, Iowa. At 17, she moved to New York, went to Stella Adler, and was at Stella Adler for a year before getting cast in Ryan's Hope in a lead role. She was in 420 episodes of Ryan's Hope, but was clearly kind of the, one of the people who broke out from that show. And shortly thereafter, she was cast as Mrs. Columbo. Yes, that Columbo. She had her own series. There was a Mrs. Columbo series that was only on for 2 seasons, but yeah, she was Mrs. Columbo playing Columbo's wife.
Nice.
She was in 3, I feel like they're very memorable episodes of Cheers. Where she was playing this congresswoman, Janet Eldridge. She was dating Sam, but he was sort of like the arm candy for her.
Okay.
Like for her,
I think I remember him on the campaign. That. Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
She is also she was Billy Crystal's love interest in Throw Mama from the Train.
Oh, nice.
And she was in Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins.
Nice.
More contemporarily, she was Captain Janeway in Star Trek Voyager. She was Red in Orange is the New Black. She was Cove in NTSF SD SUV. And that's all the notes I have. She's in so many things.
Yeah.
She's been acting since she was 20 in 1975. So yeah, she's all over the place. You've seen her. You love her. And finally, the last one that I have is Greg Edelman.
Yeah.
Who's playing Dr. Lucas.
Sunshine Guy 9000.
Yeah.
For you guys keeping count.
His is the dumbest of all of the dumb numbered screen names. I really want to have a talk with Sunshine Guy 8990.
I know, seriously.
So this is his second turn on SVU. He was in Mercy in season 4, which is episode 14 from season 4. The only other interesting credit that I thought he had was he played Kate Winslet's ad exec loveless husband in Little Children, which is also very molesty.
So speaking of molestation, he had a fairly big part in the 1989 Woody Allen film Crimes and Misdemeanors.
Speaking of molestation.
But he also, speaking of movies that I haven't seen in decades, but I know it's one of Josh's favorites, he played Phil in Gerard Depardieu's Green Card from 1990. So he had a film career going back then that has kind of changed a little bit.
I'm okay with Green Card.
I mean, I'm okay with Gerard Depardieu. I gotta hand it to that era, the 80s, whatever, European cinema for
letting that guy be a star.
He was a huge star.
I know. I mean, Green Card was a big movie.
I remember. Yeah, it was a huge movie.
Yeah, like it had a huge ad push. Mm-hmm. I feel like it had Oscar buzz. I am assuming it was nominated for Golden Globes at the very least.
But it's what the adults were watching in 1990. It's the kind of movie that my mom wanted to
sexualize and videotape.
Yeah, I remember my mom wanting to go to the movies only a few times. I remember she wanted to go see Out of Africa, the Robert Redford movie. It is so long and boring.
That's so boring. But they drink a lot of gin and tonics, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Got to get that quinine in to fight the malaria.
I fell asleep in the theater. I was essentially Jake's age in this episode when Out of Africa came out, but I fell asleep, needless to say.
Green Card, Depardieu won the Golden Globe for Best Actor.
Yeah.
It won the Golden Globe for Best Motion Picture Musical or Comedy. It was nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. It was directed by Peter Weir, which I'd forgotten.
Dugan, I'm a little disappointed that you're forgetting to mention somebody for this IMDb segment, because the guy who works at the Eagles...
Oh, yeah. I thought about it, but then I was like, fuck it, I don't care.
He's Horseface Pacusa, one of my favorite bit characters from The Wire. Well, season 2 of The Wire specifically. He's the guy who works on the docks who is the most
corrupt of the guys.
Yeah, the most corrupt. He's the guy that basically makes the Greeks' shit disappear.
Right.
He's the one who has no problem kind of hearing the orders and carrying them out.
We really need to start by unpacking everything that's going on with Teddy. This is apparently the name that Connor Paolo is now going by. He was just out psychopathically murdering and prepubescently raping cancerous weed dealers and getting his simple friend sent up the river for a couple decades while getting off with a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, I mean, he was going to have to do some juvie time, right? Where...
Yeah.
Not surprising that he would get molested in juvie.
Teddy even being here indicates that he either broke out of wherever family court sent him, or he murdered his love-withholding yuppie parents, got away with it, and then embedded himself in this family, incepting himself into their memories in their sleep, complete with a molestation backstory that divided the family and sent another man, Gregory, up the river for 7 years. Either it played out that way, or he was here before. He was with those Upper East Side architect lawyers or whatever the fuck they were after getting temporarily removed from his home on account of his raper dad, killed and kid-raped pot lady, got Jeremy Bryce sent up the river because he was old enough to get tried as an adult for felony murder, escaped from the hospital, went back to live with his original mom, who might at least have loved him a little, and then molested his kid brother on camera for a bunch of grown-ass men who chat like tweens on the internet.
Yeah, for a lot of money, though. A lot of money.
Oh, yeah, I figured that out. That was first and foremost. We'll get there, though. Okay, my next note is, or my really first note once we unpack Teddy, is this fucking puppet show.
Puppet show.
The Molesto Muppets.
Oh my God. It's insane. It's insane.
So Cap is absolutely a real thing.
It is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, per their website,
nice.
nyfoundling.org.
It looked like it might be a real thing, just how kind of ham-handedly they inserted it into the episode, too.
But they're the puppets are clearly well made.
They're not like Henson level, but they're close.
This is from the Cap website. The cornerstone of CAP's work is an award-winning program that utilizes life-sized puppets to educate 8 and 9-year-olds about physical and sexual abuse, providing them with the tools to decipher between safe and unsafe touch. CAP also trains school counselors and social workers about the dynamics of abuse and offers parenting classes to help parents learn positive parenting skills as an alternative to corporal punishment. We can only hope Max Ving Mike Post gets to learn about molestation from Muppets.
Now, to be clear, I didn't write down the exact line that the Muppets said, but I wrote down...
I mean, you can best believe it's going to be the entire intro to this episode is just the Molesto Muppets.
What I wrote down was, whenever I get touched in an unsafe way, I say yes, then I make a mess.
Fantastic. I think that's the name of the episode. All right. So were you bothered by them talking about Teddy always playing computer games? Because it's such a strange way to phrase it. I later realized that the reason they're doing this is because he's lying and saying he's playing computer games, but he's obviously running his website.
Yeah, well, he's on the computer. I feel like it's something that, like, it's a phrase that, it's a very old-fashioned phrase.
A weird, out of touch, but video games were so clearly a thing. And video games were really the thing before computer games were.
Well, and he's clearly playing them on, like, some sort of, like, handheld system.
Yeah, exactly. It starts with him on a handheld, and you're just like, what the fuck?
That's a video game, bro. Yeah, that's not a computer game.
Well, and he's calling it a video game, but no one else is.
Yeah.
No one else in the entire fucking show is calling them video games.
He seems to be, like, the only one that's actually used technology before, too.
Well, and Morales, obviously.
I guess, but oh my god, it's so weird. But before we get there, I really like the kids coming up to talk to the Muppeteers.
For sure.
The first one, she says, "It's not okay to rub boogers on your sister." Now, this reminded me of another booger rubbing episode that we've seen, which was, which one was that? That really bizarre intro. It was the one where the girls got abducted. What happened with that? It doesn't matter.
Man, these episodes are just like leaving my headspace.
Oh, it was the Warner episode. I don't want to go crazy defending a child molester here, but that was Blast. Yeah, so that one opened up with a little girl talking about boogers, just like this one.
Isn't Blast from season 7 also?
It is. It is from season 7.
So season 7's the booger season.
It is the booger season. Now, the thing that is so fucked up, though, is that they get a kid, an uncredited child.
No, he's credited.
The other kid, the not Jake?
Colin. Yeah, it's Colin.
Oh, okay. He is credited?
Yeah, he's credited. He's way down the list, but
he's like
Maximilian
7 years
Scheer.
old.
Maximilian Scheer is the actor.
My friend said rubbing wieners feels good. Jesus fucking Christ, SVU.
I mean, like, is he wrong?
I mean, I get it, but still, Jesus fucking Christ. He's like 7 years old.
Yeah.
He can't even say the lines.
Hopefully he doesn't understand what he's saying.
I think that's why they said weenies,
it is fantastic.
But still. Yeah, it's top notch, guys.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I wanted in an episode of SVU. 7 and 8 year olds talking about bad touches. Okay, so you're just, man, like thinking about being on set and watching this kid, like the whole crew has to be like, man, this really only happens on this fucking show. It's great. I love it. This is why I love this show, but holy shit.
No, I just kind of like imagine everybody being really professional, you know, like lights and makeup and everybody else around. And then there's like script standing there going, and like the director's like line and they're like, okay, here's the line.
Yeah. Because they're definitely having to feed that line to that kid.
Yes.
The worst part is, like, then does he go and do that because he fucking said it on man, I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah, don't get too deep into it, man.
This show turned that kid into a molester.
Well, it turned several kids into a molester, it seems like.
Yeah. Jumping ahead, you know, we
can jump around a little bit.
This episode's nuts. Jumping ahead, so Greg's sister supervises his visits with Jake?
It
like,
seems...
does that actually count as a supervised visit? It seems like someone with actual authority should be overseeing these visits.
Right, not somebody who works at like an Applebee's or something. She had multiple pieces of flair.
Waitress garb.
Yeah.
I think she's actually wearing Becky Ann Baker's uniform from Juvenile.
No, but Becky Ann Baker was more like a diner around the corner.
I know.
The sister, she had flair on. She was working at some, like, fucking nightmare. She was working at fucking Jimmy Chonga's up the road from me, you know, some nightmare Tex-Mex joint in Times Square.
What, TGI Fridays? That's the hot shit place in Times Square, right?
Yeah, right.
Because Cocktail's a documentary.
It is. Oh, speaking of Brian Brown.
Yeah, we're just going to... This is the Brian Brown pod. Next, we're going to talk about FX. Odd note, one of my professors at the U of M wrote one of the drafts of FX.
Really?
Yep.
That's fascinating.
It's the only credit he claimed. I don't think he's on IMDb.
Now, on an episode of SVU that featured George Wong in a fairly prominent position, I feel like they're kind of underselling the efficacy of psychology or psychiatry as a field. But maybe it's just the dumb mom, didn't believe in it, because Teddy saw a shrink. She says, while I was carrying his child, he was raping my son. In a fairly tough scene.
They're not mincing words there. She is really getting down to brass tacks.
But still, he was raped 7 years prior to the events of this episode. And it seems like maybe she took him to see the shrink 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
It's what I was getting out of that. I think that you go pretty much 2 or 3 times a week for the rest of your life after that happens to you,
sure.
If I understand.
Although it's probably expensive, not to excuse this, but...
I would think in the case of this situation, that expense would be covered by either the father or the state, depending on the exact details. But it seems like one of those things that...
You'd think you'd find
somebody would pick up the tab for that one.
You'd hope. All right, so this episode feels like it's moving really fast. I think it's moving this fast. But Finn and Stabler walk into the school, and pics of Teddy are all over the place. There are literally hundreds of pics plastered.
Maybe thousands.
Everywhere. Maybe thousands. Seriously, it might literally be thousands. There are definitely hundreds of pictures. They are everywhere.
I wish that they had taken the time, second unit, to maybe do his hair differently occasionally. Because it was abundantly clear that they took all of those photos in one go. That they just sat down, then just held down the shutter basically and had it move around.
Yeah.
And if they had just I don't know, different outfit, different lighting, different hair or something, I would have...
Well, I mean, I think we're to assume that this is all just from one shoot. Because there was more fucked up shit on there, per the homophobe.
Now, since we're there already, this fucking journo kid, really not he's putting himself into the story in a way that it's not okay.
No.
That's not what you do.
Yep.
If you're Hunter S. Thompson and you're doing a Gonzo-style piece...
He's clearly going to work for the New York Post after this.
But he's not he's not Anthony Bourdain.
No.
We're not following him around because he's interesting.
No.
In fact, he's just the blonde fucking version of Connor Paolo. And I wouldn't be surprised if the next time we see this kid, he's raping his own brother.
For sure.
That's what I'm expecting. Now, but he's not fucking Hunter Thompson inserting himself into the story in a way that's fun and interesting and maybe adds something to it. The way that fucking John Wilson does in How To with John Wilson.
Yeah.
No, he's just tearing this poor kid apart who maybe if he wanted to do a little bit more investigative journalism would have found out about the rape and be a little bit more sympathetic. The way that SVU was.
Let's re-victimize a victim.
Yeah.
He's basically this intrepid middle school homophobic reporter. Mm-hmm. It's really weird. We have another early episode of the show where they're just tossing around homophobic slurs really casually.
Oh, yeah. Stuff that you would not say in 2021.
No. I mean... It's really jarring. Back to the pictures, though. How did no one see that happening? How was he allowed to put hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures up in this school?
So, okay.
No fucking teacher or anybody, because this is after school, but there are still teachers and faculty running in the school. You wouldn't be in the building.
Yeah, you're right. It was in the afternoon.
You would not be in the building.
Yeah, the way I would think about it is that he's the hotshot reporter on campus, and so they're letting him burn the midnight oil and stay there unchaperoned. Maybe his network of informants was able to help him put that all up in a moment's notice. So that took hours to put up all those photos.
I mean, seriously, the art department on this show, the actual real life art department,
took them hours to do that.
Took them hours. They brought in extra PAs, extra set dressers. This was all hands on deck to put this many fucking pictures up. This was hours and hours of work.
Since we're talking about the photos, I think this is a time to really pat the SVU showrunners on the back for finally being extremely skeevy with young boys instead of young girls as they normally are.
Because, holy shit. It's horrifying.
It's outlandish.
You're just like, holy shit. They really went there. All of the objectification of female minors that has been going on and that we've talked about, it feels like a lot recently.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
They're cranking it to 11 though, man.
This is not just 11. This is like 47. This is like turned up to 47.
We're seeing a twinked out Connor Paolo's erect nips on screen for
he is
an uncomfortable amount of time.
Cutting glass. Jesus Christ. So Teddy is making over $30K a month on the website. There are more than 1,000 subscribers.
They didn't even count them all.
At 30 a month. They're more than 1,000 though.
$30 a month.
This is he's making somewhere in the 400 to 500K per year range.
It's insane.
1,000 even would put him at 360K. I would assume he's got enough to get him up to at least 400,000 a year.
You know, this is an interesting tie-in right now because Teddy was basically an OnlyFans cam boy before that became like the primary source of income for thousands of people during the pandemic.
And before the tube sites killed the porn industry.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like the weird like subscription sites circa the mid to late aughts where it's still bringing
you could actually
you could still make a fuckload of money. Jenna Jameson was like raking it
massive money. Yeah. Now, interesting thing right now. So OnlyFans is a thing. I'm sure people are aware of it. There's just a New York Times piece about it like this week about how so many people are turning to OnlyFans to support their income during the pandemic that it's broken OnlyFans. And so now it's like so many other.
It has broken OnlyFans. And so did Bella Thorne. Bella Thorne really fucked over all the content providers on OnlyFans because her fucking shenanigans basically capped what they could make, and it's really bullshit.
Well, but it's like YouTube in that there's like a small percentage of uploaders that are raking in, they're a massively outsized proportion of income compared to everybody else, and so these people that are spending 8 hours a day are pulling in like $200 a month in actual income from it. So it's R.I.P. OnlyFans, I guess, because that's heading downhill. Not that I've ever logged onto it, but it seems like I'm proud of people for doing their thing.
Fucking own that shit,
But I said when I found out that he was making $30K a month that Jesus fucking Christ, I should have been doing gay cam porn in my younger days.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Holy shit!
When I was a hot piece in high school, I really should have been doing
I think I had a hairy chest though when I was about 8 years old, so it never would. The twink route never really would have worked out for me.
If someone could please do some fan art of Adam as an 8-year-old hairy chested.
But okay.
Really want to see that.
Another thing I need to bring up here, though, he's bringing in 30 G's a month, and that's his web design. I think he could afford to outsource.
Well, I think he's stylistically is a primitivist.
Yeah. So Teddy's
he's a digital primitivist.
So Teddy's Treehouse.com kind of looks like it was inspired by one of the like early Simpsons seasons, Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah, for
We're
sure.
talking like season 2. When they had the different voices and they hadn't settled in on the art yet. That's what it looked like to me, but this is where he's getting fucking loaded. Now, still sticking with the pictures, because
there's a lot to unwrap here.
When Elliot and Finn walk into the school, we don't see any hardcore pics. We see a lot of like shirtless lewd, but not really like...
Yeah, but he's still like wearing pants.
He's wearing pants, but Elliot goes in a very kind of low tone.
Some of these are hardcore.
not that we're seeing.
Which is, well, but it was skeevy. It was the way he said it was as skeevy as the mental images we're supposed to take from it. Now we're kind of we're trying to jumping around here because we missed these traces of saliva from the area around Jake's genitals, which is really disgusting.
The rape kit results just came in. Got traces of saliva from the area surrounding Jake's genitals.
Just tell us we could put his father away for good.
Can't tell you that, but I will tell you we can keep it in the family. This is Jake's mitochondrial DNA. This is his abusers. It's an exact match. Jake and his molester have identical mitochondrial DNA.
Now, the mother passes that on to the children. That means Teddy abused his little brother.
Like father, like son.
And we're skipping over the like straight up pro-polygraph propaganda that's going on.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, obviously, polygraphs have largely been discredited.
Yeah.
But he's having to take a polygraph once a week.
Mm-hmm. Which is a little weird. Like,
yeah, it seems weird that that would be court-ordered, seeing as though polygraphs aren't even really admissible in court.
Yeah, it did give a nice chance for Wong to basically do some, nonverbal acting, and he's good. And
it gave another actor a job because, we've got our polygraph operator who I'm just probably nameless because she says one line.
She actually did a fairly good performance because she was having to do a lot of acting without speaking, but she only had one line as far as I remember.
If she is credited, she must be Iridia. Idara Victor is the actress because I'm not seeing anyone else it could be.
I feel like stuff really pops off once Morales shows up and we start getting to the chat sites.
Yeah. First off, I think we need to talk about, I think this is before this. We need to talk about, why is it so hard for the U.S. Attorney's Office to build a case against Teddy?
Yeah, they've been trying to build this case for a long time, which is bizarre.
Maybe Morales is involved. Morales has to be involved a little before this.
Yeah.
But SVU built their case really fast. He'd already shot with his brother at least a few days prior. If we're being really generous to the U.S. Attorney's Office, how are they not able to move on him faster?
Seriously, he's a child. He's not changing his name.
Sitting on this case for what purpose? Like, why would they sit on this?
You're right. That doesn't even make any sense, honestly. Just like
nothing about all of that U.S. Attorney's Office shit makes any sense.
It would be one thing if Captain Janeway was trying to take down all the pedos. That would make sense that they're trying to collect info about it.
Initially.
No, she's trying to take Teddy down.
Come back from a drink break and hand off VMP to Moms.
I'll have to go get him in a little bit, but we'll give him a break. She's trying to take a nap right now.
Right on.
What you drinking, Josh, before we get back to things?
So I have the remainder of the handle of Bullet Rye. Got that rocks, but that was only 2.5 fingers. That's not that much.
Yeah.
I'm also drinking a Polar 100% natural seltzer water that's pomegranate flavored.
So last night I smoked a cigar and lit a fire in my backyard. We had some of my wife's colleagues came over to our back patio.
So you wheeled the dumpster back there and lit it up?
Yeah. So, but we have a little fire pit, but now my whole fucking house stinks like a campfire. And I can't tell if I've been just inhaling the cigar smoke or the campfire smoke, but I feel like shit, kind of.
It's surely the cigar smoke because...
Yeah, it is. It is.
We've actually had a couple fires in the snow.
Nice. That's cool.
And there have been no...
repercussions.
No,
also...
And I've not smoked cigars.
Yeah, it also did a fair number of shots. So I don't feel that great today, but I'm drinking
I'm sure the back of your throat just feels like garbage right now.
I'm drinking a Canalita tea, which is a cinnamon black tea from Tarin, and I'm drinking Big Bubbly Pamplemousse LaCroix. So
yeah, I've got that in the garage. I could have been drinking that instead of the pomegranate Polar, but
it's a classic. But you got to branch out. Back to the show.
So Funfella 13, his chat language, I guess. Holy shit, he's such a tween tool. Isn't he the one who misspells virgin?
They misspell a lot of things.
I'm almost positive it's Funfella 13 who spells virgin VIRGN.
Yeah, they do that a lot. So I took down the chat window from soccerrules.com, which to me is kind of honestly a slightly weird place to pick up twinks, because looking at what else was in the chat window.
Tween twinks.
Tween twinks. Yes, exactly. It really seemed to be, basically a message board committed to soccer. So we got soccer rules.com.
Rules, yeah, with a Z.
With a Z. Does not exist. Neither does...
You went there?
Yeah. Neither does Timmy's Treehouse or Teddy's Treehouse. I went to both of them.
You feel like, they probably just they let the URL lapse on Teddy's Treehouse.com.
Probably. I was hoping they had soccerrules.com up because it looked, both of them, honestly, the URL in the search bar looked legit. And so that's
But it's really just about okay, is this a corner kick or...
No.
That's all Soccer Rules is.
Sir Kicks-a-Lot says, dude, DOOD, the refs in my league, LEEG, are addicted to yellow cards. It's funny the things that they actually write out all the way. And then he says, toss the always every 5 secs. And Spherehead9 says, GAL, which I don't know what that means. Dude, then your team is committing too many penalties. Sir Kix-a-Lot comes back.
Get a life, maybe?
Maybe it's Get a Life. Yeah, it must be Get a Life. IIR, see, you were here last week, complain about your refs. Again, this is
IRC is, if I remember
that's a real one. We're getting there.
I've never seen anyone use GAL.
No, me neither. And so, okay, they're going back and forth about this shit. Now, 1-0 Phil comes in a little bit after that, and he says, SETE, Sir Kix-a-Lot. And then he says, anyone in KC for summer youth tourney? And at this point is when Funfella13 comes in the chat, and he says, what are the dates of tourney? I'm a Hug Sock fan, which is like, yeah, that guy's a fucking creep. Get out of here. Anyways.
And a creep who can't spell huge or virgin.
What I want to know is SETE. What the fuck does that mean? And I tried to figure it out. Where did I have that information written down? No. Let's see if I have it in my history. Yeah, there we go.
Really, since we're on the subject of search history, doing this podcast, if someone were to look at our search history, there would be some damning things.
So, okay, there's two that it's one of the two that I'm looking at, and it's none that I've ever heard before.
Right.
So, sure, it could be smiling ear to ear, but in the context, it's a little weird. I guess that makes sense, but I don't know, man. Or it could be search for extraterrestrial eukaryotes. It's one of the two.
I suspect
I'm not 100% sure.
The latter.
I looked at the other usernames. So, of course, we had those ones that I just mentioned. Sweeper Brad, that's Morales. Then we had Free Kicker, Sam Guard, Goalie Tommy, Toepoke 982, Jimmy Backpass, which sounds like it could be
Jimmy Backpass sounds like a guy who'd be working on the docks in season 2.
I know. That's what the Horseface Bakusa's nephew's name is, Jimmy Backpass. Sure. And then
they're just letting him on they're letting him on, but he doesn't have his hours, and he has to go down to the fucking Stevedore's union house, and maybe he'll get a day here or there.
But I think even lewder than Jimmy Backpass is the final one, which is Outswinger 02. And I'm sorry, Outswinger 02, like I am not chatting with Outswinger 02 if I'm a child.
Never.
I learned that means unsafe touches, if you know what I mean.
Where did we learn that?
From our friendly Muppets.
Well, I was more implying our shared employment history.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, there you go. Yeah, I've been to Cuba, Yeah.
It's weird. I believe we have Austin listeners that I don't know, and I'm not sure if you do either.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway,
but it seems weird to me to pick up hot young flesh on a soccer forum. And then is when we get Morales, who is mid-30s, and Funfella13, who is 40s, maybe 50.
Yeah.
Talking back and forth using terms like, yeah, but won't it hurt? And spelling hurt, H-E-R-T.
Morales is a method teacapper.
So, but
really watching Finn, Morales, and Stabler go all teacap on Funfella13 is super fun.
But
I watched a lot of To Catch a Predator.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. That was a thing that Chad and I we'd fucking hell. It's so fun. Anyway, it's really weird how much Morales is in this episode.
I mean, he's in it the way that O'Halloran would be in an O'Halloran episode, but they wouldn't make O'Halloran commit police brutality.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
TARU brutality.
TARU brutality.
It's really wild what the show becomes when a key cast member is limited in their availability.
Yeah.
Right here, it's Liv.
Yeah, she's on maternity leave at this point.
Yeah. So, or kind of. She's at the very beginning of it, because for season 7, this is the last episode they shot. They really juggled around the shooting schedule of the last 6 episodes of the season. So this one and Fat were the last 2 that they shot, and Fat was the one right before this. That's the weird episode where Anthony Anderson is playing Lucius Clark, I believe, who's not the character that he ends up playing in TOS. And it's the episode with
Is
Anthony
he the
Anderson.
one? Is he the one that's playing opposite Billy Chenoweth?
Yeah, I think it's him and Jeremy Sisto.
Yeah.
And then Rooney Mara is in that episode also, along with Omar Benson Little. And so those two are the last two episodes of the season, and they set that up with that weird episode where basically it's the episode that tears Liv and Stabler apart because they realize that they're like too close to each other and it's putting lives at risk. It's that episode with Lou Diamond Phillips.
Nice.
I actually went back and watched all of those because I was like, this is such a weird dynamic to drop in on.
Yes.
So everybody is like on the same page. The episode ends with Liv coming back to the unit, obviously. What happened was 2 episodes prior is the episode where Lou Diamond Phillips kidnaps 2 kids after murdering the rest of their family.
Nice.
They try to trap him at a train station, but they lose him and have to fan out and search the station. Liv charges out the door from the station, but Stabler can't get there fast enough because there are people rushing back in through the doors because she's rushed out with her gun drawn. LDP slashes Liv's neck with a knife, and Stabler freezes, not knowing whether to help Liv or to chase LDP, Lou Diamond Phillips, who's got the boy he kidnapped as a captive. Her injury wasn't as serious as it looks at first blush, but Stabler's pausing to help her is met with the immediate consequence moments later of the boy the boy is found in a pool of his own blood with his throat slashed.
Nice.
Then Stabler and Benson corner LDP in a warehouse. LDP gets the drop on Stabler and takes him hostage with a shotgun like that he's stuck in Stabler's back. Benson tries to talk LDP down, but she won't take the shot despite Elliot saying, take the fucking shot. And she eventually gets bailed out by a late arriving sharpshooter because in real life she's pregnant. She asks for a temporary transfer at the end of the episode because she thinks that the emotional dynamic between the two is affecting their ability to do the job. So that is what has happened. And so this is like the second episode where they're not partners really. And she is not on the unit. She's in CPU crimes because they can hide her behind a desk.
Yeah, it was a little
She
strange.
she still does 2 episodes at the beginning of the next season though. You know, because we've obviously seen the Danny Connie Nielsen episode Underbelly. You know, that's in the middle of when she is off doing her weird undercover FBI shit. And that's actually set off at the beginning of season 8. So she recorded Scheherazade and the weird FBI undercover with Marcia Gay Harden, I think.
So I guess they probably were filming those after the baby was born, but before
they did it before. They did it. Those were the first 2 because she then had the baby and then was out of commission for 6 episodes.
Weird.
I was assuming that they either shot it at the end or they actually shot those 2 episodes. They banked them at the end of the season 7 run, but they didn't do that. They actually shot it while she was pregnant and just hid her behind a desk the whole time.
I think that this might be a good opportunity to do my one New York State of Mind segment for this.
Yeah, knock it out.
So there are really only 2 addresses that are even mentioned in this episode. One is where they track the IP address of the last guy, 22. I forget his first name.
Good Friend 22.
Good Friend 22. And that's an address that doesn't exist, supposedly like 15 West 180th Street. 180th Street
is
like
Washington Heights.
It's way in Washington Heights, Inwood area, but there's no 15, and the only address for that is in the Bronx, so whatever. But the one that does exist is where Teddy's treehouse is. That's Eagle Plaza Apartments, 548 East 11th Street.
It's where the nest is.
That's where the nest is. Putting this here because I think this is where I want to start our discussion of the nest. But first off, this address is kind of an interesting block. It's a residential block in Alphabet City, but on that block, there's a really interesting building. It's actually right next door to where this would be. It's the Free Public Baths of the City of New York, which was one of 13 city-operated public baths that used to exist. This one was built in 1904. It was closed in 1958 when private bathrooms were becoming commonplace. Now, after that, it was a garage until 1995, and it was you should look pictures of it as a garage because you could see like Alphabet City in those days was, it was like going to, fucking the end of the world. It was not a place where you wanted to be alone at night, basically. Everything was covered in graffiti. There was, the kind of Wild West you were going to get mugged if you went there. Anyways, in 1995, the Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer Eddie Adams purchased it to use as a studio. Now, if you're not familiar with Eddie Adams, you have definitely seen his work. He is most famous for the photograph from the Tet Offensive, where the Vietnamese general is shooting the Viet Cong guerrilla in the side of the head, which is one of, the 10 most famous images ever produced by photographers. He passed away in 2004. And when he did, his archives are held at the Briscoe Center in Austin, Texas,
Nice.
which was at that point, I think, run by friend of the show, Anna Carlton's father.
Yes.
So yeah, if you're in Austin, you can go check out some of his images. So nowadays, the building, they've left the facade. They've turned it into something called the Bathhouse Studios, which is described as one of New York City's premier rental facilities for any shoot or event. Now, I looked at it.
I'm assuming most of the shoots that happen there are of the adult nature.
No.
I'm joking.
It's way too high end for that,
Yeah,
Josh.
I know.
This is like your.
They don't really shoot any adult content in New York anyway.
But this is like your Fashion Week site.
I would assume that friend of the pod, Matt Williams, has maybe actually helped build stages there because that's what he did during Fashion Week a lot.
It's a beautiful location. I looked up they have two. They call them studios, but two basically, I don't know what you call them, spaces. They have a vendors list, so you can set it up a lot of different ways. They're gorgeous. They do not list the prices.
Of course they don't, because it's insane.
Yeah.
They're like,
if you have to ask, you can't afford it, basically.
Correct. Yeah.
So I'm going to segue here because after their first entrance into the nest at the Eagle Plaza Apartments, they go visit the office at the Eagle Plaza Apartments.
Yes.
Where they talk to Horseface Pacusa. And again, they've never been in an apartment building office if this is what they think an office for an apartment building looks like. There's like 30 people working here. There are stacks of papers up to the ceiling.
That apartment building would have to be a full fucking city block of apartments to require such an office.
So I am at the moment splitting my time between our house in Galveston and a quote unquote luxury apartment in Beaumont, Texas, at a place, interestingly enough, called Eagle's Landing.
I think we need to establish that there's a very real sliding scale on luxury apartment.
Yes.
And Beaumont is at the bottom of that scale.
Sure. Okay. But we're staying at Eagle's Landing, which I keep calling it Eagle's Nest, which I think is the name of Hitler's vacation villa in Austria. I could be wrong about that.
I think you're right.
New freshman Congressman Madison Cawthorn, he was able to cross a visit to Eagle's Nest off of his bucket list, which shows you what kind of guy he is.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, but you know what a wheelchair isn't going to do?
Not make you a Nazi?
Being in a wheelchair is not going to make me feel bad for a Nazi.
Yeah. It's back to Eagle's Landing.
Yeah.
I had to go to the office recently, so this unit is owned by some corporate housing shit. I don't know. But nothing fucking works in this place. The dryer broke the first time I tried to use it, and I kind of needed the dryer. So I had to get the dryer fixed, and to do that, I had to go to the office. There was one person that worked in the office. It was very quiet. There were no stacks of paper. It kind of looked like the kind of job where you're literally watching paint peel off the wall.
Sure.
Except for that one time a month where somebody comes in to sign a lease because they just got kicked out of the house by their ex-wife. That's when you move there. Sorry about this digression. I'm 95% sure that this television was struck by lightning because the TV turns on and I can get the menu screen, but none of the ports work. None of them. So not RCA, not any of the HDMI ports. I haven't tried the computer RGA port because I don't have an adapter for that. But
VGA, I think.
VGA, that's it. VGA. Yeah. So pain in the ass. It's a huge 50-inch TV. Can't use it.
It's possible that it would have been that.
From my searching of forums, that seemed like a likely, there was a large power surge.
Yeah, power surge of some sort.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so back to Teddy's treehouse.
Yeah. Right after that, we go to Claude Henderson's, whose checks are paying the rent for the nest, but only because his identity was stolen. And when that reveal happens, I'm like, seriously, they're going to throw this wrench in the works too?
Yeah.
But that does give our entree to Liv behind the desk at the CPU crimes unit. My note here is Liv is really hard for the Patriot Act tech.
Yeah. What was weird to me about this scene is what they already had Morales all over this case, right?
Yeah, but he's spinning out because he's playing with a hand tied behind his back.
Yeah.
Liv really has all the tech she needs, and TARU, they're not down with Homeland Security, apparently.
He's also kind of losing it by this point because we've already heard about his nephew, Freddie, who
was raped.
The hard R raped by a 43-year-old. Now, I have a question about this, right? Because so Freddie was 12 and the guy was never apprehended. So they seem very confident in knowing that the rapist was 43 years old. Did the 12-year-old ask for ID? Was it in the chat logs? I just thought 43 was a little specific.
Yeah.
Say he's 40.
I'm guessing Freddie carded as rapist.
But man, Morales, he kind of seemed to be tweaking on the same provigil that Jennifer was tweaking on in the last episode we did.
As we continue to talk about parallels between the two episodes.
Yeah.
It seems like Dr. Lucas is pretty smug for someone who clearly knows where Teddy went and can go up the river for possession of and probably solicitation of child pornography.
What I want to know is, like, this episode presupposes that basically every job that a man does, except for be a cop, you have to be a sicko to do those jobs.
He's a pediatrician. That's obvious.
Well, okay, so teachers, pediatricians, fathers, they're all fucking sickos, man.
I mean, are they wrong, though?
Sometimes. But none of the cops are. The cops are all fine in the SVU land.
Not always. In this episode, yes.
Yeah.
My favorite part about this is Dr. Lucas jumps to the tape being faked.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, dude, it's 2006.
Yeah, deep fakes.
You really think deepfake technology is there?
Yeah. It's not really there now, but people think it is.
No, I mean, it looks okay now. But like in 2006, you may as well be trying to deepfake something from 1972.
Yeah.
It is dog shit in 2006. There's no way you could jump to that being faked, especially like if you're a smart enough person to have actually gone through fucking med school to get to become a fucking pediatrician.
So these days, I mean, most of the deepfakes are just editing something to make it sound like somebody is saying something that they're not.
Totally.
Which is totally different than getting fucking chloroformed.
Yeah, I mean, basically putting Connor Paolo's face on someone else's body. Like, why?
Yeah.
Okay, so the police are going to go to that much effort to trick you, dipshit?
No, it would look like the fucking alien from Mac and Me if they were trying to actually do that in 2006.
For sure. So, Dr. Lucas / Sunshine Guy 9000. Again, Sunshine Guy 8999. Please reach out to the podcast. I want to know what your life is like. He's such an addict that he can't pick up a tail and rushes off to the nearest internet cafe to touch base with good friend 22.
Dude, just the lewdest look on his face too as he was logging into the internet cafe.
Tell me, good friend 22, where's my boy? Where's my Teddy? So then Stabler and good friend really get into it.
It's such an intense fight. I was out of the blue. It goes from Stabler breaking down a door like he's done many times. And then, but who's this strange older bald man?
I mean, I guess warrants don't matter and this is exigent circumstances.
Yeah,
probably.
that would be exigent circumstances. I mean, he literally was held tied up. He was tied up for fan service more than anything.
They didn't actually know this, though. They did not know that he was tied up.
But I feel like they had a reasonable expectation.
Maybe. But it's definitely like something that may not hold up in court.
Yeah. But still, good friend 22, man, he throws down with Stabler. And it's like a Bourne movie for the next, 30 seconds.
So he's played by Tim Gallen, who is not credited because he has no lines.
Yeah.
Tim Gallen is clearly a stunt guy.
Yeah, obviously.
Like, that's how I figured out who he was.
I was surprised that you were able to figure it out. Was he listed in stunts or stunt guys?
Yeah. He did stunts and stunt coordination on 22 episodes of SVU.
Nice.
Before you feel too bad about him not having a line and thus getting credited as an actor, it's rare that stuntmen get their faces shown on screen.
Absolutely.
And they make a fuckload of money.
Yeah.
Usually if you're on set on a day where there's a stunt guy, he's getting paid the most. I mean, like with this, obviously, like Hargitay and Maloney are getting paid a bunch. And at this point, probably Ice-T is too, but like the stunt guy's probably making more than Morales, and he's recurring.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And he's been recurring for years. The stunt guy's getting paid a fuckload of money. So I did a little dive on Tim Gallen. Since 1979, he has 299 shows or movies that he's worked on per IMDb. While he's surely sore as fuck when he rolls out of bed in the morning, he's rolling out of bed in what I'd expect is a pretty fucking nice house before driving to work in what I'd assume is a very nice vehicle. Having been on set enough to have to like see the vehicles that stunt guys are rolling up in, they're generally rolling up in pretty nice cars. There's also on northjersey.com, and you've got a total of 7 free articles that you can see on northjersey.com. There is an article from 2017 that's basically like a little puff piece, but it's a profile of Tim Gallen.
Nice.
It's Tim, and then Gallen is Galli. Okay. He apparently lives in Glen Rock, but he's one of Hollywood being, you know,
the industry.
Term apparently, for the industry, because he is not in Hollywood. He's a New York stunt guy.
Yeah.
But he's one of Hollywood's longest serving stuntmen with nearly 300 credits to his name. The name of the article is The Absurd Life of a 61-Year-Old Veteran Hollywood Stuntman.
Yeah.
Sounds like he'd be a fun guy to like be around on set.
Seriously.
Because he's got a fuckload of stories. I'll try to add this article to the links in the episode. It's a fun little article.
Seems like an interesting life. Now, we kind of glossed over the first visit to Teddy's treehouse, and there was one little thing that I thought was pretty funny because Finn and Elliot are there kind of looking through everything. And Elliot goes to like a box by the bed, which is next to the backdrop that we've seen many times before. And he picks up something from the box, which is clearly a pair of devil sticks, as you would find at the Renaissance Festival. And that's when he says, "Homemade kiddie porn studio." Now, to me, it's possible that Teddy's films include traditional gesturing and, you know, sword swallowing and maybe fire breathing as well. But there was no evidence of that in any of the images that we saw.
Yeah.
There was no fire breathing. There was no devil stick wielding. I don't know. Do you wield devil sticks? I don't exactly know what you do with them from a verb.
I'd assume you fondle them, right?
You twirl them? I think you twirl them. I don't think it's...
Yeah, you probably twirl them.
Yeah.
Or bat them? Do you bat them back and forth, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know. So, completely fucking nuts fight, obviously, that we talked about.
Yeah, batshit crazy.
We didn't talk about Morales abusing prisoners in custody at all.
Oh, we did a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, we talked about it's jarring.
It's a hilarious fight because both Morales and Dr. Lucas are like 95 pounds.
Not fighters. This is each of their first fight. Morales gets the jump on him and basically kidney punches him for, I don't know, he gets about 4 good blows in. Like, there's no way Doc Lucas isn't pissing blood for days after this.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like Morales was putting very much weight behind those punches.
He doesn't have any weight to put into those punches.
No, it was a very skinny nerd fight.
I would assume that he's 6'1", that Joel De La Fuente is probably about 6'1", and 135 pounds.
No, you're missing, you glossed over one of the grossest lines that has ever been spoken in SVU, which is Benson, when they're trying to get Dr. Lucas to flip, she leans in and she says,
"If you want to protect him, then tell us who that man is. He doesn't love Teddy the way you do.
I can't.
Think of that boy that you love. Now think of his body, that young, thin, perfect body."
She's complete insanity.
She may as well have just said he had a lithe body.
I know.
Ooh.
And I think, you know, the next time we see him, we're panning up like he's being restrained and he has like a bit in his mouth or whatever.
A gag. It's a gag. It's a rope gag.
He has a rope gag, and we kind of zoom up from like his pants. We glide over his hairless twink torso, past his nips.
I feel like you're imagining
locks.
that. I feel like you're imagining that.
Go back and watch it, Josh. It was horrifying. Horrifying.
I mean, it's horrifying. I don't know that it glides because it starts with a wide shot of him.
It starts with a wide shot, but then it definitely goes into like a
but
more
then it
close
comes to a second shot
that is more of a close-up. Now, at the end, like everything's okay. All is forgiven. Jake is forgotten.
Captain Janeway is going to go after the pedos.
No, Captain Janeway, she's heading back to the Delta Quadrant without impacting the timeline. But then we get this weird, it's okay to do like, you know, TARU abuse of a prisoner because he's a good man.
Right, yeah. Uh-huh.
And
well, because Liv doesn't roll that way.
Liv won't roll on a good man.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Maybe we have a certain problem with the culture of policing where good men are hard to find at times.
Yeah, I guess we're going to have to drop in a good man is hard to find here. Yeah, it's troubling.
Just in light of, I don't know, last week events, there's some things about the Capitol Police Force that have come up over the last week that are fairly disturbing. They have words for white officers that are friendly with fellow black officers, and it's not cool. Anyways,
let's get to rating the episode, huh?
Yeah, let's do it. Again, so this is one of those episodes that I was really kind of in the back of my mind when I thought about doing this as a podcast.
Yeah.
Because it's like so bonkers.
This and Hooked.
Yeah.
And the Luke Perry episode, which we still haven't gotten.
The James Spader one. There's a few of them, but this one really I don't even remember, I saw it a long time ago the first time I saw it, but it's just some of Connor Paolo's lines and the way he delivers those lines are just insane.
Yes.
And just completely bonkers. And so
and in the most delicious way.
Yeah, I mean, he's really enjoying delivering these lines. He was 15 years old when this episode aired, by the way. Now, so we do the quality, the guess, how problematic it was, and the depth and breadth of lives ruined. And I'd like to start with problematic.
No, let's save it.
Okay.
Let's go through in order, but save problematic for the end.
We'll do problematic last. Okay. Yeah. Quality. It is definitely uneven.
Yeah.
It is definitely like things happen out of the blue. Characters do things completely out of character. I'm thinking of Morales, who is normally, he's a very technical guy.
He's like an utmost professional.
Exact. Not in this episode. So it is bonkers, but it is also really fun.
Super fun.
So I am inclined to give it a fairly high grade, like a 7 or an 8.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I guess we have to see 7s and 8s.
8s. We've seen a bunch of 8s. The Emily Deschanel, Nate Mooney episode was an 8.
This is as good as that.
Yeah.
I'm good with an 8.
That's what I think too. And I think that Connor Paolo...
He's really good in this.
I have to say he's great in it.
Yeah, and I was kind of expecting you to hate him, but he's really fucking good.
No, he's really good.
There's a lot to do with this part. I mean, I guess you just go big. I guess, like, if you're coming at it as an actor, you go big. But there's really a lot that falls on him, and he brings it.
Yeah, I feel like, for instance, with the last one that we just watched, Hot House, he had to do a lot more, where he wasn't just a straight up, he's tweaking out on drugs.
Right, there's more nuance here than there was with a Sarah Hyland character.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he brings it.
He really does.
Some of the uneven stuff, I think the mom was maybe a little over the top.
How can you be over the top if you had both of your children molested?
It's true. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I thought all of the various Sunshine Guy 9000s.
I would be apoplectic if I were her.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, I don't know how you don't just go home and,
Yeah. And like, there aren't huge names in the pedos.
Yeah.
Because I guess, who are you really going to be able to cast? And you're not going to be able to cast a name in those pedo parts.
I don't know. But I thought all of these guys, I mean, like, fucking the first one, such a pedo. But hopefully not in real life. He seemed like I'm sure he's a fine guy.
I'm sure he's a perfectly nice man.
But wow, he really he brings it. So did the dad.
Yeah, Zach's dad from School of Rock.
Tim Hopper. I really thought they all brought it. So
no, they brang it.
They bring it. Now again, it's not like an insane stunt casting. It's not Mark Paul Gosselaar episode, for instance.
Correct. Or it's not Fred Savage, who was name dropped earlier.
Yeah, but it definitely gets close to that. It's an 8, right? Or something close to that. Because Connor Paolo has to do a shitload, and he is the episode.
Yeah, he is the episode, and he really does bring it. Like, this was probably the reel that got him a pretty significant recurring role on Gossip Girl.
We gave the Michael Pitt episode an 8. Kind of a similar thing.
And he didn't have that much time in it.
No, he didn't.
Like, Connor Paolo's in this a lot.
Yeah, he is. I mean, is this a 9?
I still don't think it's a 9. I think it's probably an 8.
I think it's an 8, too.
Michael Pitt, I would say that Michael Pitt's doing more.
Yeah.
His performance is memorable. Not that Connor Paolo's isn't, but Connor Paolo basically gets credit for more screen time.
Depth and breadth of lives ruined.
This might be the one point where it's not as bad. Still, you're talking about 2 children being molested.
2, at least 2, multiples. I mean, we have that other kid that at least was propositioned by Jake. We have
Morales' nephew, Freddie, who's not in the episode, but Morales is dealing with a fallout.
Yeah, let's see. We've got thousands of subscribers to Teddy'sTreehouse.com who love him, as we are told.
In earnest, I don't think they're victims here.
Obviously not. So what about all the kids at school that are traumatized by his photos?
I feel like given the photos that we did see of Teddy's treehouse, none of those students are traumatized.
Well, but there was hardcore shit that we didn't see, supposedly.
Maybe.
Also, that if that's what they're teaching kids to do is in journalism school these days, then there's a whole generation.
The whole future of journalism is fucked.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, it's like below average on this count.
Yeah, I mean, we constantly go back to this, but there is no AIDS outbreak.
There's no AIDS outbreak. Nobody dies. There is a lot of fallout for this one family, but they're all alive. And at the end of it, it's fucking like the mom's hugging Teddy and they love each other again. And seriously, we haven't even thought about Jake. Like, Jake isn't there at the end.
And that motherfucker had his dick sucked by his brother.
Yes.
He is 8. Like, that's insane. And we're not fucking talking about it.
No.
They have completely left this kid abandoned. You know, we're talking about Teddy. They've not forgotten that Teddy perped on his brother.
Yeah.
But this is fucked. And they basically just ignore Jake after that.
Yes.
We've also got the real life fallout of 15-year-old Connor Paolo.
Yeah.
Really being sexualized.
What about Sunshine Guy's Patience and the other ones? What was the other one's name? Fun Fella 13. What about Fun Fella 13's students?
Yeah.
There's some fallout there.
We don't know that he's acting on familiars.
That's true. Now, we gave the Nick Chinlund, Ty Burrell episode a 4.
There were bodies that we didn't know were dropped that had been dropped.
That's true.
That had happened outside of the context of the episode, which I think is why that got bumped to a 4.
But can we give this less than a 4, guess what I'm asking? Because it seems like even though maybe the numbers aren't that high, it's still, we're talking about an 8-year-old kid.
We can't substantiate that the numbers are that high.
But we're talking about an 8-year-old kid who got his dick sucked by his brother. And that's pretty fucked up, right?
And it's right there front and center. Like,
that's gonna last. You know, that's gonna stick in your craw.
We're clearly seeing what happens when that does not go treated by continued psychiatric help, because that's where Teddy is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be at least a 4. Yeah.
It's a 4. Yeah. We'll say
it's a 4.
I think it's a 4. Yeah. And because this episode is going to get a boost in the next category, of course, because...
how so? How so, Adam?
we're talking about how problematic was this episode. We've been talking...
And how is this episode problematic, Adam?
We've been talking for an hour, 39 minutes now. Obviously, some of that's going to get cut because a lot of it was...
There's a lot of downtime.
There's a lot of VMP... service going on. Yeah. I do not know a world where we're gonna have primetime television be more problematic than this episode. I just don't know if it exists. Like maybe in Italy or something where you got those.
I do think that this is on. I mean, I'm pretty sure we had it. Hooked was a 10, right? For problematic.
We've given a few 10s. The Mahershala Ali episode we gave a 10 to, and I think this is more problematic than that episode. That one was pretty lurid with the descriptions of how he was massacring people.
Yeah.
Hooked was a 10.
Hooked is an obvious 10. I would say that this is on par with Hooked, and I think that this is a clear 10.
I think it's a clear 10. I mean, that they got like a 7 or 8-year-old to talk about rubbing weenies. Then that they got a 15-year-old Connor Paolo to just sink his teeth into some lines that are not okay. Just really not okay. We're not even
eye-bugging out, crazy problematic.
Yeah. Like you are shouting at your TV saying, no, they didn't just say that. We're not even bringing up the really kind of hateful anti-gay shit that the journalist kid said. Because it doesn't even fucking matter because of how over the top the Connor Paolo stuff is.
It's insane to have the journo tween. It's insane to have him fucking dropping those lines, and it's such a non-factor that you haven't, like, at the end of the episode, you're not even fucking thinking about it because of all the other insanity that has happened, that has played out here.
So 10. It's a definite 10.
This is such a 10 that you almost feel like you have to rescale everything else that's come before it because it's so wild.
It's like this one is an 11. This one is, I think, the most problematic episode we've seen.
Yeah. I mean, Hooked is really, really problematic too. Like but for me, Hooked is the most that we've done so far. But I think this is worse.
I mean, Hooked is kind of like has problematic things going on, but what they have Connor Paolo saying is just outlandish in this. You know, some of the lines they're putting into characters' mouths. But, okay, it's 10.
I think if you went back and watched Hooked again...
They say some crazy shit.
I mean, they're 16-year-olds doing porn.
Yeah, well, that is absolutely true. Listen, so that gives us a 7.5.
Yeah,
which
is
that
way
makes
up there for us.
It's up there. It's not
Pantheon, but it's very close. It's like in the next
It's Pantheon in problematic, but not in some of the other things. And
because it's not as professionally done and the fallout isn't there.
Yeah, exactly. There's no like AIDS outbreak in Queens. Nothing like that, but it's still way up there.
Yeah.
It's, kind of just in the sort of next tier below Ridicule and Hooked.
I mean, for an episode to have a 10 in any category.
Yeah. It means it stands out. We had a 10. Rhodium Nights, for instance, scores a little bit higher than this. It had a 10 in depth and breadth of lives ruined.
And that's because the fallout is there with a principal cast member.
Yeah, principal cast.
Main cast, yeah.
Waking up with a dead sex worker covered in her blood. Yeah. So that's a different scale. But I'm happy with that. It's just a delightful episode if you don't have,
if you watch the show for the same fucked up reasons that we apparently do.
Being heavily mindful of the various trigger warnings that should
Wait,
be
are there trigger warnings?
Oh my God. Anyways, there's a non-zero chance that the child just shat in his pants standing next to me. So let's go ahead and roll the next episode.
Okay, let me fire up episode.lol, brought to you by Flet. Tape is spinning. Bill and Ted are doing their thing.
Oh, I hate that part.
And we've got Turmoil from season 11. It's episode 8.
I'm looking at the cast right now. We got Christine Lottie. It's another Sonia Paxton episode. We've been there before. It doesn't look like anybody else really jumps off the page to me yet.
Okay, so ADA Cabot is being investigated by the state bar because of a rape case. But Benson and Stabler are too preoccupied to come to her aid because Stabler's son and best friend are missing. Looks like we've got some more Dickie here.
Oh, yeah. Final appearance of Dickie.
So does he die?
I don't know. We'll just have to find out, won't we?
Yeah, so this is a real Stabler-sode. Oh, fuck. Dude, Austin Lizzie's in this one, too.
Oh, weird.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, so we've also got Austin Lizzie, who's returning as a defense attorney who was also a bestie boy in Uncivilized.
Nice.
So we'll see. Sometimes these character-heavy episodes, especially the Stabler ones, can be almost as tedious as the Amaro ones.
Yeah, it's true.
Fingers crossed.
And it's also a Sonia Paxton episode, and we've already been down that road before.
How visibly drunk she's going to be is in question, because I've already spoiled for y'all, if you've listened to every episode, that is her demise. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I mean, I think we're good to wrap this up since you've got a son with a beshitted diaper.
Yeah, I've got a diaper to change. It's going to be a wild fucking ride. Let's see how this goes.
It's Mr. Toad's wild ride?
He goes like 2 days without shitting, and then when he shits, it's like a fucking fountain of dump,
Yeah.
It's like an elephant pen, basically, in my house when he shits now.
Nice. On that note, Munch our Benson.
Yeah, munch us, guys. Love you guys. Rate and review the pod, please. Thank you, guys.
Podchaser and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, man.
Go to
Absolutely.
and rate and review us.
All right. We'll talk to you next week.
You've no idea why I'd want to humiliate you. If you don't talk, I can't help.
You wouldn't understand.
Try me.
Why are you so interested in me? Those pictures turn you on?
The ones with your little brother made me sick.
Shut up.
Just screw around with someone here like you did with Jake? The rape kit proves you abused your little brother.
No! No, I didn't hurt Jake.
You molested him.
So? My dad did stuff to me. Didn't mess me up.